being that SNAP benefits generates almost $2 in economic activity for every dollar spent, you would think Republicans would be in support of it, but lo and behold, they want to make it harder for people to be able to afford food.
The debt ceiling deal includes legislation that changes how the federal government decides who gets supplemental food benefits, or SNAP, which typically provides support for people who make under a certain income level. The new changes are a compromise for both sides. Republicans want to make it harder for people to qualify for the program, and Democrats want to make SNAP more accessible to people who say they need it. SNAP
We honestly need to make SNAP available to more and more people. Uh, Being one that it does uh, generate, it is an economic boom for communities, as it does generate like $1.78 for every dollar spent. So you would be generating revenue for every dollar spent, and that would actually be good for various communities, and more people would be able to afford food that they normally wouldn't be able to afford, as well as other items, as the burden of food cost is decreased with outside help of food stamps.
is one of America's largest social safety nets, similar to Social Security and Medicare.
It's really the only federal nutrition program we have that's widely available to all different kinds of households.
Elaine Waxman studies this policy for the Urban Institute, a DC think tank. So, what are these changes?
So the debt bill changes to SNAP focus around work requirements, which specifically apply to individuals who are 18 to 49 currently, who don't have children living with them. They're sometimes referred to as able bodied adults without dependents. The bill would actually extend the age where those particular requirements apply to people up to the age of 55. And this would start to phase in this fall and finish phasing in for people at the higher end of that bracket fall of 24. But I think we hear them referred to as work requirements, but
I honestly don't think we should have like work requirements for food stamps and the such, because people need to eat in order to survive, and work. The more food a person is able to afford, the better they are at working. So you would think in a capitalistic society that you know being able to eat and have affordable food would be something that the rich people want, but surprisingly it is not. They want food to be as expensive as possible and make it as hard as possible for people to get food. It just doesn't make any sense, especially when, you know, SNAP benefits generates more money than what is spent on it.
it's a little bit of a misnomer. Actually, most people on SNAP are subject to a general work requirement. But this particular provision focused on these individuals really brings a time limit as well. So if you are unable to comply with the requirement to work 80 or more hours a month, then you are eligible only for SNAP benefits for 3 months out of 36 months if you are not able to stay in compliance.
So, will the wealthy people that are able to finagle the welfare system to get SNAP benefits, will they also have to work 80 hours a month, or will that just be ignored?
That's a very draconian change. And it's being applied to people who often are a little bit more tenuously connected to the workforce, particularly as they grow older. It may be more difficult to be competitive with younger workers.
And who is
I mean, once you hit the age of 50, you should be able to be, you should be eligible for retirement benefits and any other benefit whatsoever, since you've spent pretty much half your life working, and you shouldn't have to like spend your entire life working and only get like 3 or 4 years of retirement. Uh, Once you hit 50, you should just be given a house, your retirement benefits, and insurance and stuff like that, so you can have medical and all that, and actually live a life that you were promised, working, part of your life for a company.
Most affected by these new SNAP requirements.
What's interesting about the debt ceiling provisions is that while they also impose new time limits potentially on this older group of workers, they have created new exemptions for certain categories, specifically people who are homeless, people who are aging out of foster care, and also people who are military veterans. We know that individuals on SNAP have reduced food insecurity, which is the focus of the program. But also, we're increasingly learning that people who are enrolled in SNAP are more likely to have lower healthcare expenditures than people who are similarly situated but not participating in the program. Some people.
No, no surprise there, because they're able to afford healthier foods, which means their, you know, their bodies are better able to fight off diseases and, have proper growth and function than, being forced to consume, the cheapest of processed foods because you're too poor to actually afford, healthier foods. Not saying that, being on SNAP, you can afford the healthiest of foods, but, you know, when you have extra money to spend on food, you can get slightly healthier foods than, if you only have, you know, $50 a week to, spend on groceries, you really can't get the best of foods.
Have estimated that up to 750,000 people may lose benefits due to these provisions. Again, some folks may now newly be eligible for exemptions, but others may not receive those.
What does all of
I think if you, make at least under, you know, like $75,000, you should be eligible for food stamps. I'm not sure, like, the wealth level of, like, what $75,000 a year actually gets you. But, I mean, that's a pretty good amount of money. The average, yearly salary for minimum wage is like $30,000. So we could probably make it like $50,000 a year. If you make under that, you should be automatically eligible for food stamps so that, you can eat, your kids can eat, and you can, have the energy to go to work and at least have, you know, one less, you know, bill to worry about.
this mean for food banks and local governments that actually administer SNAP benefits?
We'll have to wait and see how states cope with this, but it's quite a change overall. In terms of how they will prepare, it will require more workers likely. There's more administrative cost. And this is one of the things that often doesn't get talked about in terms of SNAP cost. We focus on the benefit side, but we don't talk about the fact that, administrative procedures require people and computers and call centers. And states actually pay half of the administrative costs for SNAP, whereas the federal government pays all of the benefit costs. I think this will definitely put additional pressure on the charitable feeding system.
And finally, how can people who receive SNAP benefits stay on top of all of these changes when experts are struggling to understand them themselves?
Often people don't even get a notification of the changes in the rules. I think this is a place where the nonprofit sector is going to be really key in just helping people navigate that and helping people understand that they may be eligible for an exemption that's not automatically being offered to them. We're in for some very big challenges with people's ability to understand and navigate the new rules.
I don't understand how the United States can't make, getting assistance as simple as it is in various other Western nations that have, robust social programs, and people are more easily able to make use of them. Um, the welfare systems, the social safety systems in the United States is uh, made harder to make use of so that people can't uh, get a hold of these funds that they should be eligible to get. It's like unemployment. Their unemployment is made confusing, like the forms and stuff. They're made confusing and hard to understand so that people give up on getting unemployment so that the employers don't have to pay.
And now we have these new categories and additional rules for people who have not been subject to them. Even people who are experts in the field have struggled to stay on top of the nuances that came about during the debt ceiling discussions. So I can't imagine what that's like for the average SNAP participant who also is just trying to work hard to meet their family's basic needs.
I wonder how hard they made it for, rich people to, reap various benefits from the tax codes and stuff. Uh, Republicans always want to make it harder for poor people to get a hold of benefits while making it easier for rich people to make use of tax loopholes and benefits that is passed to benefit the rich people. And it's just a form of wealth distribution from the poor to the rich. And if uh, you know, poor, if the poor Republican base actually understood what was going on, they would be upset that uh, their politicians are siphoning money from them to give to rich people who do nothing to benefit them.